3 weeks into the NBA season, we don't know anything. You're right, that's not true. We know the Lakers really, really stink, and Kobe's heading for a Godfather 2 ending. No more rings, no more Laker family, all alone. We know Miami is not dead yet, and we know the Triangle is wreaking havoc on the Knicks.
Amari, look out!
We know the Cavs aren't winning 70 games, but at least they seem happy, right? Aw. We know OKC is haunted by two things: the Skirvin Hotel and the James Harden trade. We know the Clips have a livelier owner, but they're screwed unless they find a shooter with size.
I can make the corner three, Doc, and I'm available.
Settle down, Jalen. We know the Brow is our league pass MVP. We know Bogut is doing a nice Walton impersonation. And Boogie Cousins blossomed into an all-star.
Boogie!
Even better, his teammates actually like him. We know 13 teams can make the finals. 13! And we know Kobe doesn't play for any of them. Does that bother you, Kobe?
No, it doesn't bother me. I'm festively jovial about it.
Welcome to the Grantland Basketball Hour, presented by the U.S. Postal Service. Here's Bill and Jalen.
Welcome to the Grantland Basketball Hour. I'm Bill Simmons. He's Jalen Rose. Jalen's bat will be joining us later. We'll also talk to Grantland Zach Lowe about OKC and ESPN.com's Ramona Shelburne about the Lakers. Do it, Jalen.
We got to give the people.
What do we give them?
Give the people what they want.
Yeah. That's what we're going to do.
Let's get it.
That's what we're going to do. And first of all, your voice is getting better.
I've practiced.
Are you taking voice lessons?
Not at all.
You swear to God?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do time travel headlines. Jalen, we're going to head into the future to see if we believe some of these NBA stories. Here's the first one. Let's see what it is. Oh, back in the saddle. Spurs repeat as champs. June 16, 2015. Do you believe this headline?
Go Spurs, go!
Is that a yes or no?
I do believe that headline. Tim Duncan is back. Manu's back. Kawhi's improved. They won by the largest margin in NBA history. And their two competitors in the West, they just beat them soundly, in my opinion. That's
Clippers,
the
Warriors.
And Warriors.
So I was of the opinion that this was going to be the year after season. Like last year was perfect for them, right? They redeemed the worst loss, one of the worst losses in NBA history. They killed the Miami Heat. They make LeBron actually move operations to Cleveland. 5th ring for Duncan and Pop, the whole thing. I bought into it. I didn't see how they'd recapture that. But Parker had this really interesting interview after the Warriors game, and he mentioned two things. One was he was talking they had never gone back-to-back before, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's like a good motivating force for them. And then the other thing, he kind of let it slip. He thought, you know, if this is probably Duncan and Manu's last year. And then he caught himself. He's like, well, you know, if they... But are we starting to think this is the last stand for those two guys?
I do think it's the last stand. Tim Duncan is monitoring his minutes along with Pop, and rightfully so. They're playing for the marathon. Tony Parker, while we don't like to judge players by only rings, he's established himself, to me, as still the top point guard in the league.
Yep.
As long as he's still in his prime, to go with the other things we talked about, I think we'll be in San Antonio come June on the Riverwalk.
Oh, no. Really, again? The Riverwalk? No, I like San Antonio. I mean, 3 years of the Riverwalk might be a little excessive. But, you know, I was thinking about the Duncan Manu thing and how it led to Kawhi Leonard. And basically, they didn't give Kawhi the extension, right? Which they should have. Why wouldn't you want to lock up Kawhi Leonard for 5 years, $90 million, whatever it takes? He's a Finals MVP.
You want to keep him hungry. You want to keep him thirsty.
You think that's the reason?
Absolutely. He's still a restricted free agent. We know we're going to give him top dollar. The other 29 teams can throw offers at him. He's not going to leave San Antonio. He said he wanted to be a Spur for life. Now, if you Pop, you just have that hanging over him all season so he can play with an edge.
Pop playing a psychological advantage?
He wouldn't
that
do
doesn't
it.
sound like a...
He wouldn't do that.
I also think if they think Duncan and Manu are leaving, you keep the cap space open. You make a run at Marc Gasol. Is there a more perfect Spur than Marc Gasol? Could you pick anyone on the league who would just fit in with them better?
He would fit right in, but we don't want to start tampering on this show. Okay? He has a job with Memphis. They're doing really well.
Right. If you had to pick one team to unseat them, I would pick the Warriors. David Lee didn't play in that game the other night. I like the passing big men. I think the Steve Kerr was a big coaching upgrade. They can shoot threes. Would you agree that's the scariest team for them?
That is the scariest team because they have the best starting backcourt in the league.
Yep.
With Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, who's leading the league in steals.
It's not Rondo and Avery Bradley?
Oh, no, sir. You're not in
okay.
Boston right now.
Oh, sorry.
And so now Harrison Barnes has improved. If they can get and stay healthy up front, in particular with Bogut, because he's an anchor, and Andre Iguodala can continue to improve and give him intangibles, I do think the Warriors are really scary. But it's all about if they're playing at home. They're a different basketball team in the playoffs at home. Watch for their seed.
I think they have the best chance. Let's look at another headline. What do we have? Boogie to start an All-Star game. All right, so
Boogie!
we'd have to help with this because Dwight Howard probably has the inside track. We're going to have to do a little internet campaign to try to get him. But from an offensive standpoint, Boogie has been out of his mind, not just last year, but this year. He's in the top 4 in PER if you include last season and this season. Then the list of names, it's Anthony Davis. Can we see that list? Anthony Davis, LeBron James. I think Boogie's 4th. Oh, yeah, Durant is 1st. So Durant's not even playing this year. But Cousins has become a legit offensive guy. Needs to stay in the court, foul trouble.
For Boogie, it's all about perception. The numbers were there.
Right.
We're huge Boogie fans, and we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. But since he played with the FIBA team this summer, we understand now that he's more mature.
Right.
He learned the difference between a 45% shot and when your teammate is open for a 60% shot on that possession. He's working harder, he's keeping the technicals down, he's staying emotionally invested in the game, and he's been dominant in the paint especially.
Everyone's pointed to Team USA for him and for a couple other guys, Anthony Davis and a few others. Why hasn't it worked for Andre Drummond? The Team USA thing, reverse worked on him.
Because normally when you play on Team USA, you're the go-to guy and or a creator on your team. Andre Drummond has to rely on other guys to get him the basketball. They haven't been able to do that. And also for a player like Boogie, he had a teammate, Rudy Gay, on the team. Steph Curry had a teammate, Klay Thompson on the team.
So Josh Smith didn't make the team.
No, he didn't make it. Just that close.
Can we look at the list of Kentucky people just from 2009? This is ridiculous. The starting lineup. These are just Kentucky draft picks. It's 2009. That would be about as good of a starting lineup as anyone had in the league. And then look at the bench. This is interesting. We got Jalen Rose Jr. I didn't know. Congratulations. But that's a deep team. Would that Kentucky team, if you just made that a team, would they be, not the Spurs are the favorites, would be they one of the favorites? All Kentucky.
They would definitely be a playoff team. And in talking to Coach Cal about those guys, who obviously he loves all of them, the money that they've made as NBA players and endorsements can affect the gross national product. Like, I think the number is like $650 million. Like, he's churning them out, and rightfully so. He's built a terrific program in Kentucky.
Well, we didn't spend that much money on these headlines. Let's look at the next one. The NBA Finals come to Canada, June 10, 2015. That would mean Toronto has made the NBA Finals. Do you believe that headline?
Not gonna be able to do it! I love what I'm seeing from the Six. Big shout, Drizzy Drake. They have a terrific backcourt, one of the top 3 backcourts, in my opinion, in the league with DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. But they must make a move to solidify their play up front.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
Because
does that mean a trade?
Yes, they definitely need to add someone up front that can give them some scoring consistently, because they need a third option that's really going to produce in the playoffs.
Well, and they have a ton of expiring contracts. I think it's close to 27, 30 million, something like that. Let's look at some of the targets that they could go after. All of these guys would help. They have their first-round pick. They had that guy Bruno. Remember they drafted that guy Bruno last year? Nobody knew who he was. Apparently he has trade value. I don't know, but...
I was there when they drafted Rafael Araujo.
Oh, yeah, you were on that team, Rafael.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That one didn't work out. I
Good
think they took
that.
him over Andre Iguodala.
Yes.
But, you know, the thing with Toronto is I'm not sure they're the team right now that we're going to see in March. They do have a trade to make. And, you know, they need some luck. Cleveland needs to maybe not reach its potential. The Derrick Rose thing needs to play out in a way that goes Toronto's way. I'm not willing to rule them out to make the finals, though.
I'm not ruling them out, but there's a second tier happening in the East, in particular with Washington and Toronto and Miami. I put them in that conversation.
Okay.
But the Cavs and the Bulls, in my opinion, are clearly the 2 best teams, obviously, in the East.
Kyle Lowry's best game is now on par with just about any other point guard's best game. Like, he killed the Celtics last week. I haven't been to a game by Chris Paul where he did to a team what Kyle Lowry did to the Celtics last week in 2 years. And I don't think we talk about Kyle Lowry enough as a big guy.
I love seeing Rajon Rondo back in the lineup, but I got to tell you a secret. Everybody's killing the Celtics these days.
I don't like all these Celtic shots.
But did you notice we're
surrounded by Celtic posters. How dare you?
I saw Jeff Green up there. You trying to dump him off on somebody. But Kyle Lowry, he's a power guard. Right. Okay, he can hit you with his shoulder, make the jump shot mid-range, shoot the three off the pick and roll action and in transition. He can finish at the hoop, but he's growing into being a floor general where he tries to see if Terrence Ross is going.
I like floor general,
He tries to see if DeRozan is going. Then all of a sudden he tries to take over when the team needs him most.
Well, somebody who doesn't do that is our next headline, and this is probably the biggest issue with them. January 8th, 2015, Cavs deny shopping Kyrie. Kyrie Irving, very talented, but I think the difference between 2011, Wade and Bosch, they're sacrificing some of their stats because they want to win. But one of the reasons they did that sacrifice is because they had put up stats. They had done stuff in the league. Wade had already won the Finals MVP. Bosch was a 24-10 guy. Kyrie hasn't done anything. Can you ask somebody who hasn't done anything yet, who's still trying to prove himself as a player, to now sacrifice himself for the team?
Well, the one player people are going to be talking about is Eric Bledsoe, who's also a Rich Paul client.
You mean for a trade?
For a potential trade, if that headline comes true. But if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, I find a way to make it work with Kyrie. He's a young player. He's a terrific offensive player. He's terrific handling the basketball, getting shots for himself. He's going to learn how to get others involved. He's been an all-star. He's been an all-star MVP.
Come on, he was an all-star because everybody got hurt.
No, it matters.
Rondo got hurt and Rose got hurt.
No, it matters when
you were
out
two
there.
away from being an all-star that season.
It matters the things he's accomplished so far in his career.
Well, one thing with Kyrie, I feel like there's a fork in the road for him. And I wish we thought of the animation for this, but I just thought of this today. He can go the Francis Marbury way, right? Where you're just a scoring point guard, but your teams don't win. Or you go the Parker way, where you can turn it on and off. You're still a scoring point guard, but you're a team player, and you kind of pick your spots. That's what he has to do.
Well, I'm going to tell you something the first two guys didn't have that he has. A Hall of Fame player to play with. Right. Okay, and now he has LeBron James, who, as his career progresses, LeBron's not going to be the one to be the guy that pushes it on every fast break. He has to initiate the offense all of the time. That's why you have Kyrie, and I think they're going to allow him to grow into his game.
Last headline, let's see it. Oh, that's tomorrow. Wow. What's wrong with the Clippers? Jalen, what is wrong with the Clippers?
The Clippers, I was at the game where they played against the Sacramento Kings, and I was really disturbed that Boogie Cousins was almost like the pitcher that everybody else is 12 and under, and he's 16. He was almost like the bully on the block, literally. He had more points and rebounds than Blake and DeAndre put together. Right. And when that happens, that dynamic clearly needs to be ironed out, and that's something that they also need to address. But also on the wing, who's going to play defensively? That 6'7" to 6'9" position?
It's glaring because they're doing this three-guard offense the last 6 minutes. And, like, I went to the Spurs-Clippers game. They had Jamal Crawford and Kawhi Leonard. That's not going to work.
Yeah, he's too small.
You know what? You ever see the movie Fight Club? You probably didn't. Anytime I throw a movie at you. So, in Fight Club, spoiler alert, Ed Norton starts fighting himself at the end of the movie. He's basically had an alter ego. I think Doc the GM and Doc the coach are going to get in the fight because Doc the GM has let down Doc the coach this year. And he put this team together. It's basically just guards and big guys, and there's nobody in between. I don't know how you solve that.
That's been a glaring weakness for the last couple of years. And what gets you to the next level in the Western Conference, that small forward position is crucial. Right. Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. You have Harrison Barnes playing good basketball. So if you're going to come out of the West, you have to have a productive player at that position.
That was a big promotion for Harrison Barnes. Durant, wow.
All I know is Perry Jones III put up 32 against them.
He did. He had his career high multiplied by 4 against them.
And Kawhi Leonard tied his career high against them as well.
I have a Blake Griffin point quickly. Remember Barkley in the mid-90s became infatuated with three-point shots and kind of being this guy who backed people down and tried to be like a Michael Jordan-type creator? And you watch him and you think, you're Charles Barkley. Like, just crash the boards, run the floor. That's what you do. I wonder if Blake is kind of losing his identity for what he is. He's a great athlete who crashes the boards. He's relentless. He's a freak of nature. I don't want to see him shoot 22-footers.
What happens when you're a young player and you're so athletic the way he is, and he's posterized so many players, and all of a sudden he wants to prove to everybody, I can shoot. Right. And I can shoot with range. But when you're guarding him and he shoots a jump shot, you're like,
Yeah, thank you.
I'll live with that.
Thank you.
And if he makes enough of them, then you have to get up on him. It's almost like allowing the defense to take a break or you letting them off the hook when you shoot jump shots. You have to mix up your game, but again, don't fall in love with the jump shot.
Well, neither of us like how the Clippers are playing. You know who else doesn't like it? Clairvoyant Bill, our old friend. He, Oh, wow. So, Clairvoyant Bill, he smells something in the air. Smells a trade. Smells a signing first. Ray Allen. Is he on a team yet?
He's not on the team yet.
Did he play with Doc Rivers before?
That did happen.
Would he like to live in Los Angeles?
Who wouldn't?
They signed Doc Rivers. Who does that make expendable, Jalen?
Unfortunately, it may make Jamal Crawford or J.J. Redick expendable.
Jamal Crawford. Clairvoyant Bill wonders, is there a Jamal Crawford, Tony Allen trade that makes sense for both parties? A little more scoring for Memphis, a little defense for the Clippers.
On paper, it makes sense for both teams. Memphis does need another ball handler that can create. The Clippers do need another perimeter defender. And you know how I feel about Tony Allen.
Grit and grind. Oh.
Crazy glue.
Smoke.
The grandfather.
Wow. Thank you. Clairvoyant Bill apparently has his head on backwards. I apologize. Head on backwards. Zach Lowe is up next. We'll be back.
The Grantland Basketball Hour is...
Say hello to Grantland.com, Zach Lowe.
Get low.
We are going to... We're going to try to figure out if the Oklahoma City Thunder can make the playoffs. This would have been an impossible conversation 2 months ago, but look at these numbers. Let's see what the actual records are. So let's say it's a disaster, these first 33 games, and they go 8-25. That 40-9 mark would almost be only two teams have done that in the last 10 years. Now, I'm projecting, Zach, you tell me if you disagree here. They said Durant 6 to 8 weeks, which would put him back mid-December. That's a broken foot. A lot of guys have had issues with that foot if they rush back too soon. Doesn't January 2nd seem like a reasonable estimate there?
I mean, it's tricky, right? We just don't know. That was they made it very clear that was just an estimate based on previous injuries. They weren't saying that was his timetable. But, you know, if he gets back toward the end of that in the 8-week portion of it, that's mid-December, I think they'll be fine. But if it's later than that, then this discussion becomes a lot more serious.
And 6 to 8 is optimistic when they did that, Jalen.
And also, Russell Westbrook is going to be back before Kevin Durant.
Right.
And he's one of the top 10 players in the league. And Scott Brooks has done a really good job of getting this basketball team to play hard with Serge Ibaka, Perry Jones. Now they got Jackson back in the lineup. You get Morrow back in the lineup. I do think this team will make the playoffs.
So let's say 15-18, those first 33 games, then it becomes a little more realistic. We all think the last couple of years it's been somewhere between 46 and 50 non-strike season, but every season, the last 4 other than that season. So let's say they need 48 to get there. Is that, or you think it's a little lower?
I think that's about right, and I'm optimistic. 8 of their next 12 games are against, like, for sure lottery teams. So they get through that 12-game stretch. Let's say they go 6-6. They're at 9-12. Westbrook's probably back by then. They need to go something like 40-21 the rest of the way to get to that 49-win mark. And when this team's healthy, they can go 51-10 over 61 games.
Well, we're assuming that Durant is coming back and he's 100%, and I think that, how do we know?
You just don't. You don't know.
But also, what's the deal with Kendrick Perkins and Serge Ibaka freezing out Reggie Jackson?
Brutal. That game, though, he was hogging the ball that game against Brooklyn. He was hogging the ball. And Scott Brooks called him out publicly, and he's been playing a lot better, a lot more unselfishly since then. And they look really good last time. I'm surprised we're doing this segment, considering they just throttled your Boston
They did.
Celtics.
We're taping this on a Thursday day before they did. Was this the ultimate revenge of the Harden trade, though, which neither of us liked, where, you know, the odds of losing Durant and Westbrook are like 50-1 to start the season, but they did. And this is one of the reasons you don't trade James Harden, because you have injuries in the NBA. You're going to lose guys. Is this the ultimate revenge?
Look, we still don't know, right? The ultimate revenge will be if Kevin Durant leaves in 2 years.
That's true.
Look, they did the Harden trade for 2 reasons. Number one, to save money. I don't care what anyone says. They just didn't want to pay the tax. They keep saying they're going to pay it. wake me when they pay it. Number two, they were betting 4 players would be greater than 1 in the long haul, right? They turned Harden essentially 4 pieces. Went to Mitch McGary, Steven Adams, who's good, Jeremy Lamb, who looks awful, and a salary slot that could be Reggie Jackson when he resigns or if he resigns next season. The bottom line is that might work really well for the next 8 or 10 years, but only if Durant stays. And in the meantime, Harden has been, I think, rather easily better than all of those guys combined. And that was only amplified when Westbrook and then Ibaka got hurt in consecutive playoffs.
Well, how about this? The choice was really, do we want a perimeter offensive player like James Harden who can grow into the player he is now, or Serge Ibaka, who's a defensive force, who's still been an anchor, though Westbrook and Durant are out right now?
And the other thing that's going on this season, let's say they do have to go, I don't know, 37-10 or whatever it ends up being. I don't remember an NBA situation like this before, where you have all these guys just kind of fighting to keep them in the relative position of now having to make this great run. But they're going to have 2 of the best 10 players in the league with Ibaka. You also give all the other guys the experience of playing in big moments.
Which is
big. This would be kind of exciting, I think, down the stretch. This would be the most compelling storyline of the season.
And also, where's your level of trust? Because I have 7 teams, Spurs, Golden State, Clippers, Houston, Portland, Mavs, and Memphis, that I think are in. So now do you trust New Orleans, Phoenix, and Sacramento more than OKC when they're going to get Durant and Westbrook back?
And that's why it's so important when Westbrook comes back and when Durant comes back, because there's going to be a point of no return, I think. Especially Westbrook, he broke his shooting hand. We don't know if he's going to come back 100% from that right away. You know, it'll be a couple games where he's got the brace on, all this stuff. Then Durant comes back with a foot injury that, as we said earlier, like has derailed a lot of guys. And the biggest mistake you can make with that foot injury is to come back too soon. This is also a team that's been very, very patient with the health of their young players. I don't see them rushing back Kevin Durant. Hey, you're 90%? Yeah, go out there. They're not going to do that.
Well, but that's the only scenario. Mark Cuban suggested this week that maybe they should tank like the Spurs did in the mid to late 90s. That's the only scenario where that's considered, right? If they just can't come back till February and the season is lost. Otherwise, the clock is ticking on Kevin Durant.
Yes.
They cannot afford to punt one of the last 2 seasons before his contract expires after all the bad stuff that's already happened to them. That's an interesting thought exercise, but it's not a real thing.
Do you think if OKC doesn't win a championship between now and when KD becomes a free agent, they will A, trade him, and or B, he's going to leave when he can?
Well, they won't be able to trade him if he hits free agency. I think next summer they could be in a Kevin Love situation. Like, he could send the messages like, look, this is my last stand. That's it. You might as well trade me now. I don't know if he would do that, and you don't really think he would do that either, because he's a little more concerned about his image than maybe Kevin Love was.
Well, he's done a good job in OKC of being the MVP of the league, yet being somebody that's able to live a life away from basketball, have a good time, not have to deal with the scrutiny of a large market. When you
hot spotlight on him the whole time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You go to Washington, D.C., you're playing at home, you're getting 65 tickets a game, and all of a sudden, everybody's trying to become your family member or your friend. I don't know if he's ready for that distraction.
You don't trade Kevin Durant. You don't trade. Kevin Love is a nice player. He's a top 10 player. Kevin Durant is a transcendent player.
Do you trade him if he says, I'm going to leave in a year?
I don't think he'll say that. Because, well, look, I'm kind of optimistic for them because LeBron just left the Heat, which was a finals team and a championship team before that. But they were an older team that was clearly aging the wrong way. Durant has 2 young guys, 25 and 25 years old, both of them, and they win 60 games every year. That's a tough situation to leave. You got to be really confident you're walking into a good place to leave that situation.
And nobody ever talks about how Sam Presti and Scott Brooks have done a good job putting talent on the roster and developing that young talent to go with KD, to go with Russell Westbrook. I think he likes being a leader to those young players.
And you thought, like, when LeBron went back home, that empowered the rest of the league a little bit. Now, that would be the case that Durant would go back home to D.C. Like the other star players saw the kind of bump that LeBron got with the Skylar Grey song and just the documentary and all that stuff. I wonder if that factors into KD at all.
But that's not necessarily his personality, and he's already an MVP in OKC. Right. He doesn't necessarily have to chase it. He's been to the finals. As long as he and Russell are together, they have a chance to be special.
I'd rather play with Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka over John Wall and Bradley Beal, and by a significant margin.
I would too.
To me, that's not. If it's basketball only, that's the Wizards have a nice team. Ibaka is a difference maker defensively. They don't have that.
I agree. if they got the 8th seed, how bummed out would the Spurs be on a scale of 1 to 100? 120?
Bummed out enough to start resting guys every game down the stretch. They're already resting everyone. I mean, that's the fascinating stuff. Nobody wants to play that team in the first round. You would absolutely, if it's close, see some strategic tankery, let's say.
That's the fairy tale ending, right? They make the 2012 finals, Harden trade, bad luck, bad luck, bad luck, bad luck. Climb it back, they get to the 8th seed, and then they upset the Spurs, they roll through, they win the title.
Or regardless to who has the #1 spot, we can't wait to see the last 2 weeks of the season and how teams jockey to get away from the #1 spot so they don't have to play them.
It's not tanking, but it's something else.
It's tanking. Call it what it is. It's
playoff tanking or something?
Strategic tanking.
All right, let's make a pick. Who makes the 8th seed in the West if OKC somehow doesn't get there? I'm assuming under this scenario, Durant doesn't come back in time. They can only get to 43 wins, whatever. Who steals that spot? I'm going to go first.
Don't count your argument about 43 wins.
I'm going to say the New Orleans Pelicans. You know why? Because Anthony Davis averages a 25 and 13 every game and has all-star defense. Every time that scenario's happened, Duncan, KG, Malone, whoever, that team makes the playoffs, so I'm picking them.
I just got to tell you a secret. Kevin Love, without the defense, had those exact same numbers for Minnesota.
Without the defense.
Without the defense.
Without the defense.
Anthony Davis is so good, it's unfair. First of all, I'm optimistic for Oklahoma City. I think they will make it.
But that's who you picked then.
But no, who I pick in the event is
don't couch it.
The running, gunning, funning Phoenix Suns. This is the team. Comfortable in their own identity. They've had some issues, you know, integrating the 3-point guards and replacing Channing Frye. I just feel compared to the Pelicans, the Suns know who they are. They're a little bit more comfortable. They've had a very home-heavy schedule so far. They're about to hit the road. But I feel like that team knows what it is.
Suns are a great league pass team. But who's their leader?
Ooh.
Who's the guy that's going to galvanize the troops? And another thing, when I watch them play, everybody has the green light.
Oh, it's great.
All great teams have a #1, and they still have to iron that dynamic out.
I agree with Jay when I think they're slightly off this year. I don't see it with Phoenix.
Can I say, anytime Gerald Green and Isaiah Thomas are on the floor together,
it's a
you need to switch the channel immediately.
And so what I'm going to do is, I'm not a prisoner of the moment.
Oh.
This is the team
I knew he was going to do this.
The 8th
Come
seed.
on.
Why not the Kings?
They're going to get the MVP of the NBA back. He's going to have fresh legs, and he's going to average at least 30. Russell Westbrook is going to be a blur, a Tasmanian devil out there on the floor. They're getting the 8th spot.
I didn't know you could do that.
I'm pouring one out for you. I just poured it on myself. Zach Lowe, we can read you on Grantland.com. You've been doing a great job this season. I look forward to seeing you cover this OKC. We'll be back after this. The losing Lakers. You know, from ESPN.com, we are going to talk about the Lakers. The Lakers aren't doing well.
You just love this, don't you?
Well, I think it's a newsworthy story.
You're such a homer.
I think we need to talk about it. Ramona, you have an interesting theory. Everybody expects the Lakers to tank. Phoenix gets their pick in next year's draft unless it goes in the top 5. Everyone assumes, oh, this is great. The Lakers will lose, they'll get a top 5 pick. You don't think they're going to do that?
They can't. This is Los Angeles, Bill. Like, the Lakers have missed the playoffs 6 times in their entire history. Since Jerry Buss bought the team, they missed it once, right? In 1993-94, they missed it last year, and they're gonna miss it again this year. You can't do this in Los Angeles. This is Hollywood. When you are not relevant, when you are not in the game, people just forget about you. It doesn't matter if they win a championship. Like, they would rather be 8th and at least have their fans engaged in this season, at least have them watching the games other than watching how many points Kobe's going to score, how many shots he's going to take. They have to be relevant. They cannot not be relevant. And I'll tell you right now, you'll sit next to Jeannie Buss in a lot of these games. She's sitting there with Linda Rambis and Stacey Kennedy, her friends. And every single time she's like, my dad always says, we cannot miss the playoffs. The Lakers just don't do that.
I agree with you. This is the city of palm trees, lowriders, and movie stars. Can't be tanking basketball games. They have the Black Mamba on their roster. And speaking of
I thought you were calling him the Gray Mamba.
Well, he's going to be at the end of this season.
Okay.
And speaking of that, so how long before Kobe just really get so frustrated.
That is the question, right? Like, I'm waiting for him to explode.
Yes.
I mean, I can't tell you how often
like Jack and Scanners.
I mean, every single time we go by his locker, right? We go by his locker, and it's like, is this the night? Is this the night he is going to just let it rip? And I've checked in with him in the preseason when they were getting blown up by 30. I mean, it's like preseason, so you're like, they just got second teamers in there. It's not that. Are you all right? When are you when is this gonna turn for you? I'm fine. To this point, he has not lost it, but I feel like it's coming because even though he's saying all the right things, even though he's saying, I want to help Jim and Jeannie continue their dad's legacy, even though this is a process, it's part of my legacy. I know him. You know him. He doesn't sit back for an entire season and watch this go on.
Will Kobe play for another team?
No. No. I mean, one.
Applauded. Throw him out of there.
No.
So wait a second. I wanted to go back to one thing you said earlier. The mindset of LA, whereas like if you don't have a hit movie for 2 years, you're not a movie star anymore.
You're not.
If you're not making a TV show anymore, you're not on TV. You're irrelevant. You don't matter. Do you really feel like that's a big part of how the Lakers think about their position?
I think that's how the Lakers think about their position in the city. I mean, like we're in LA, right? When you're an actor and you're not on television, what do? You go get in a play in North Hollywood so that somebody might see you someplace.
Yep.
So that you can say, well, I'm in a play right now when somebody sees you.
Yeah.
The Lakers, if they are not in the playoffs, they're nowhere.
And
they're
you
not
have the
relevant.
Clippers thing too, Jalen, right? You've been out here for a while. Like, it does feel like I went to the Monday Clippers game. There were some celebs there. It was celeb heavy. It was executive heavy and celeb heavy. I feel like they're kind of on the corner a little bit now.
The Clippers have had a couple of good seasons, but this is still a Laker town. They have 16 championships.
Don't suck up to the audience.
Their history, it speaks for itself. And they can play Kobe Bryant every night, and he's going to be a draw. Businesses in this area, they lost 30% of their money when the Black Mamba was out.
Right. I mean, I host radio here, Bill, and we talk about the Lakers. The Lakers, and maybe a little bit of the Dodgers, a little bit of the Clippers, but it's the Lakers. Yeah. It's the daily soap opera here in Los Angeles. And they're relevant because they have Kobe Bryant. And the way I've come to think of him in this last act of his career, whatever these 2 years end up being, it's like actors sometimes just take roles just to be in movies, right? He's still a star actor. He's still a leading man in this league.
So
he's not
like
in a good movie right now.
Like Mark Wahlberg in Shooter? One of those type of things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What's the last movie Nicolas Cage was in?
Or like one of those Liam Neeson movies when, oh, Nick Cage.
I mean,
that's an insult to Kobe, though.
Yeah, it is. He's better than
Nick makes some bad choices. But, I think like with Kobe, the scoring record's at least a little bit involved in this, right? I think he's 60. He's less than 7,000 away from Kareem. He's around 400.
Got to chase something. Michael. You're not chasing the playoffs.
He's going to pass Michael soon.
Well, he's certainly taking enough shots. He's taking 28 shots and 10 free throws a game.
Who else do you want to take them?
Well, that's the thing. So he's in kind of weirdly a good situation. But you know him really well. You're like the Woodward and Bernstein and the Lakers combined. You feel like he's at like this weird place of peace, right?
Well, you have to understand, he's 36 years old. He's starting Kobe Inc., and he's putting every day that they're not playing basketball.
Kobe Inc.
He's at his offices at Kobe Inc. He's working on his post-NBA career already. He's doing a documentary called Muse. It's going to be on Showtime, and it's not a documentary, right? This is film. This is art.
Oh.
I mean,
like he's going for like Sundance or South by Southwest.
This isn't Kevin Durant on HBO or Dwight Howard with whatever he just put out there. This is Kobe's watching Darren Aronofsky videos and movies and saying, I want to do art like this. Like he's
Jalen,
asking the guys on the crew,
okay with that?
How do I do art? How do I make movies? Like he's throwing himself into that. This is a businessman. This is a guy with 2 kids. He's married. His life is in Los Angeles. Plus, staying with the Lakers for his entire career is one thing that he can do that Michael didn't do.
So let's say he stays 20 years with the team that drafted him. Probably not a record. Oh, I guess Duncan. What was he, 97? So that would even be Duncan. Does that even matter to somebody like him?
It does matter. He has 5 championships. He's the 2nd greatest shooting guard in the history of this game. And it's not, at this point of his career, he should not be trying to chase a chip. He's had a great career. They're paying him $23 million this year, paying him $25 million next year. He gets a chance to play basketball for a living and work on Kobe Inc. I'll take it.
How do you put one of the most competitive guys who's ever been in the league on a team with the likes of the guys that he's playing with right now?
I'm glad you brought that up because the misnomer is that all great players win a championship every year. There are a lot of great players that have been swept out of the playoffs, been on teams that didn't make the playoffs. Look at Derek Jeter, the end of his career with the Yankees.
Yeah.
It does happen. And so for Kobe, I think he's going to approach it like a professional, try to embrace it the best he can. I do like a couple of their young players. I like Hill. I like Davis. They're just not starters yet on productive teams.
I actually think some of his legacy is what happens to the franchise after he leaves, right? I mean, you know, in some ways, if the Lakers rebuild, if they actually get that next star, if they stay the Lakers, then you don't blame anything on Kobe anymore. It's like he passed the torch and then somebody else took over. But if this is a big crater, if they become what happened to your Celtics after that era,
shots fired.
I'm backing away. I'm backing away.
Pow, pow, pow.
I mean, we were talking. The Celtics are used to being. I mean, you went through 30 years in the wilderness, right? I mean, you.
Well, 30 is a little strong. It was basically 94 to 2007 was not really fun. It also happened to be I lived in Boston the entire time.
Right.
It stinks, and that's the one thing with the Laker fans. They need to realize, like, this might not be an aberration. This could be a 10 to 12 year odyssey before you get back to where you want to be.
They basically average one really terrible year a decade, right? So if you're talking about 2 terrible years in a row, that's now an aberration from the pattern. And there's all sorts of reasons. They went all in because the old man was on his way out in 2012 and they wanted to get him another championship. That meant a lot to the Buss family to put a championship team together so that he had a chance to win it up.
Oh, no.
What's going on?
We got to go to work. We got work to do. Oh, no. We got work to do. Oh, no.
Bad news Bill and bad news Jalen are here. We have some bad news for the Laker fans.
Bad news for you.
You have to whisper bad news, right?
Yes, the operation was a success, but the patient died.
We're very worried about the future of the Lakers because you're telling me that they're going for the 8th seed, which means they're going to try to trade the Laker draft pick for next year, try to get somebody like Darren Williams or Josh Smith. I don't think that's going to make enough of a difference.
And also, who's making decisions? Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, Phil Jackson, Pau Gasol. They're productive in other situations.
That's true. And all of those people didn't want to play with Kobe anymore. I think you need to break the news to the Buss family that they should try to tank and get a top 5 pick.
This is tough news to tell the family.
I think they know, though. I mean, honestly, it's like, you know when you're in this place. You know why people are whispering.
Well, we're whispering now. We're whispering goodbye to Ramona Shelburne. We'll be back after this.
The Grantland Basketball Hour is presented by the US Postal Service. No one does holiday shipping like us. Mailbag is brought to you by the US Postal Service. No one does holiday shipping like us.
The mailbag, it's time. We're still trying to get Karl Malone to get involved in this, but let's see what's in the mailbag. Give us the first one. As a Laker fan, what do I call this season now? Lose more for Okafor or decay for Oubre? Those are the top 2 prospects. I'm going with bore and gore for Okafor. What do you think of that?
I'm going for ruin your day for Moutier.
Oh, Moutier, you like him?
Absolutely. A terrific
like that
prospect that's playing in China right now, but those bigs are going to be right in the NBA draft room.
I think you outdid me on that one. Ruin your day for Moutier. All right, let's see what the next one is. What great NBA player does Anthony Davis remind you of? This is a good one from Kenny in Baton Rouge. So, we made a little graphic here. He's got the Durant arms. You agree with that?
Down to his knees.
The David Robinson hands. Nice catch, blocks, all that stuff. He's got that up. He's got bird's eyebrow.
That's just wrong.
Come on. Tim Duncan's brain, the IQ, the hoops IQ, all that stuff, that's in there. Wow, we're turning him into a Frankenstein. Allen Iverson's heart and his energy and his engine. And then KG's
the big ticket.
And then what else do we have? Oh, I like this one.
Got to get some Boston in there.
Well, the footwork, come on. You back me on that. Bob McAdoo's jump shot, the closest I could find.
About time you gave the Lakers some love.
And then finally your dude.
Megatron!
The freak factor. Now, the one thing we left out was you said Tim Duncan's what?
Demeanor. He's actually a combo between Tim Duncan and David Robinson. David Robinson ran like a gazelle. He was really agile. He was the big guy in the league that will block a shot and be the first guy down on the other end to finish.
Right. All right. What else do we have? If the Sixers signed Jalen right now, played in 35 minutes a game, what would his numbers look like? Well, I had an idea for this. Let's see. We see the graphic. 7 games. I think you launched a lot of threes, but notice how you only played 7 games because you tore your hamstring, your calf, and your groin. Yeah, all at the same time. It was one of the most gruesome injuries in the history of sports. But we did make a video. Do we have that? Oh my God, Jalen! What else? Oh, you look so happy on the Sixers.
I know one thing.
What else do you do?
I'll be on Broad Street hanging out with Beanie Siegel. I'll be getting a lot of cheesecake, steaks.
Well, we didn't talk about the Pacers. You don't think they're going to tank?
Of course not. In 49 states, it's basketball. In Indiana, it's religion. And they got Larry Legend in the front office, who I talked to yesterday. He's excited about getting the Stuckey back. C.J. Miles, David West. Indiana will be in the playoffs.
That's it for the Grantland Basketball Hour. Thank you so much, everybody.